So let us now find the solution to the problem statement that we faced in the previous video. So in order to solve this, we need to use the concept of getter and setter in Java. Now inside the rectangle.java, what I'm going to do is, since the length and breadth are now private in nature, so it cannot be accessed within the main.java, right? So here comes the concept of getter and setter into picture. Now the getter and setter are basically the methods in Java. So within the class of rectangle, let us define our getter and setter. So firstly, let us define the getter for length. So for that, what you will do is, you will use the public modifier. Let us use first void and then use get length. So this method, what it will do, it will simply return the length of the rectangle. Now here, since we are returning the floating point value, so let us replace this void by float. Now this is basically the getter for length. And similarly, we can define the setter for this length. So for that purpose, again we need to use the public modifier, then void return type set length. And then within the method, we need to use the parameter of, let's say, float length. And within the body, let us write our code such as the instance variable length equal to this local variable of length. Now as per what we have learned in the previous topic, in order to make compiler understand that this length is basically our instance variable, we need to use this keyword. So this dot length equal to the local variable of length, right? Like this. So this is basically the setter for length. Now similarly, we can define the getter and setter for the breadth as well. Now in IntelliJ IDE, we have a shortcut. You don't have to write all these code again and again for each of the instance variable that you have defined within your class, right? So the shortcut to this is simply right click, go to generate, and there you will find multiple options. Generate a constructor, getter, setter, getter and setter both, and there are multiple options. So our destiny is getter and setter. Simply select it, and there you will find the breadth only, because for the length we have already created the getter, right? So simply select breadth, hit on OK. So the IntelliJ IDE will simply create the getter and setter for the breadth that you can see in front of you. So we don't have to write any code. The job is done by the IDE itself. Now, how can we use this getter and setter? So inside the main.java, what you can do is, instead of this statement, now we can use the method such as r1.setLength, and now simply pass this value 12.9. Paste it here, and now similarly let us use r1.setBreadth, and then simply pass 8.7f that we were using there. Now when this statement will be executed, it will simply pass this value that will be received by this method of setLength here, right? So once the value is received here, it is now assigned to our instance variable of length, like this. The same thing applies for the breadth as well. When this statement is executed, it simply execute this method. So it will simply receive the value here and assign it to our instance variable. So now that we have implemented the setter, we can now remove these two statements. And now how can we access the length and breadth? So for that, again we can simply use the reference variable dot get the length. So here we get length, and similarly r1 dot get breadth. So these two methods will now return the value of length and breadth, because inside the rectangle.java we have these two methods. If you notice here, it is simply returning the length of the rectangle and again the breadth of the rectangle respectively. Now we can print out, let's say sout, print out r1.getLength and similarly r1.getBreadth, like this. If you run the code right now, you will get the desired result. And there we go, the length and breadth successfully. So always remember, it is never a recommended approach to use the instance variable directly outside the class. So always try to make it private, right? Like this. Now that we have implemented the getter and setter for the class of rectangle, I will give you a code practice here. What I want you to do is, inside the class of dog, we had couple of instance variable, right? And also we had some methods. Now, what I want you to do is make all these instance variable as private, and along with this, define the getter and setters for all the instance variable that we have defined here. So take it as an assignment and we will discuss its solution in the next video.